Welcome to Coverage and Clarity with Jacques, the podcast where we break down protection, planning, and peace of mind so you can make confident decisions for the people who matter most.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Coverage and Clarity with Jacques. I'm your host, Jacques Jean-Baptiste, and as always, I want to thank you for spending part of your day with me. Whether you're listening while driving to work, taking a walk, relaxing at home, or watching it on YouTube, I truly appreciate your time and trust. Every episode of this podcast is created with one purpose in mind: to help you make confident, informed decisions while protecting yourself, your family, and everything you work so hard to build. Insurance can often feel confusing, overwhelming, and even intimidating. My goal is to replace that confusion with clarity and to replace the uncertainty with confidence. When you understand your options, you are empowered to make decisions that align with your values, your goals, and the future you envision for your loved ones. Today, we're going to talk about something that goes far beyond policies, premiums, and paperwork. We're going to talk about people, real families, real emotions, real decisions, and real moments when life changes forever. Now, I've titled today's podcast as From Worry to Confidence: True Stories of Insurance Changing Lives. Now, before we go any further, I want to make something very clear. While the stories I will share with you are inspired by situations I've encountered over my career, I've changed identifying details and combined experiences to protect privacy. The purpose of this podcast isn't to focus on any one family. It's to highlight the lessons that all of us can learn from these experiences. Now, here's something I've learned after more than 28 years in banking and insurance. People rarely call me because they're excited to buy insurance. They call me because they have loved someone, they want to protect a spouse, they want to provide for their children, they want to make sure aging parents are cared for, they want to keep a family home in the family, they want to avoid becoming a financial burden. Now, those are deeply personal motivations, and they deserve thoughtful considerations, not high-pressure sales pitches. If you ever find yourself saying, "I'll get life insurance next year. I'm still young. I'm healthy. It's too expensive. I already have something through work. I don't have enough money right now." Or maybe you said, "I don't even know where to start." If any of those sounds familiar, you're not alone. In fact, millions of Americans delay purchasing life insurance for that exact same reason. And here's the reality. Many people don't realize the importance of coverage until life reminds them how quickly circumstances can change. Today's conversation isn't meant to create fear. It's meant to replace fear with understanding. Because when we understand what life insurance actually does, it's just as important. What it does not do, we do not stop looking at it as an expense, and we begin seeing it as part of a broader financial strategy. Life insurance is not about death. It's about protecting the people who continue living after you're gone. I want this statement to sink in with you. Life insurance isn't about dying. It's about making sure the people you love have choices during one of the most hardest seasons of their lives. It's about giving your family time to grieve instead of forcing them to worry about how the mortgage will be paid next month. It's about preserving dignity. It's about preserving opportunity. It's about preserving stability. And in many cases, it's about preserving dreams. Over the years, I've sat from the table from newlyweds planning their future. Young parents welcoming their first child, business owners protecting what they've built, grandparents thinking about the legacy they'll leave behind, and retirees wanting more for their spouse is secured upon their demise. Although their circumstances were very different, one thing united them all. They cared deeply about the people they loved. That is a common trend running through every meaningful insurance conversation I've ever had. So today, I want to invite you to do something a little different. As you listen to me, do not think about insurance as an abstract form. Instead, picture the people who matter most in your life. Maybe it's your spouse. Maybe it's your children, your parents, your grandchildren. Maybe it's a sibling. Or perhaps it's someone else who depends on you financially, emotionally, or even both. Be sure to keep that person in mind throughout this episode, because every story we discuss today ultimately comes back to one question. If tomorrow looked different than today, would the people I love be financially protected? Before I dive into our first story, let's take a step back and answer a question that sounds simple, but has profound implications. Why do people really buy life insurance? Not the textbook answer, not the answer you see in a brochure, the real answer. People do not buy life insurance because they expect to die tomorrow. They buy it because they hope their loved ones can continue to live well if tomorrow does not go as planned. That's a very different perspective. When you frame life insurance that way, it stops being about fear. It starts being about responsibility, preparation, and love. Let's begin with our first story. It's a story that illustrates one of the most common assumptions people make. We have plenty of time. At first glance, it seems like a harmless belief. After all, youth often gives us a sense of security. Good health can make us feel invincible. When life is moving along smoothly, it's because the important financial decisions can always wait another year. But what we're about to see, life doesn't always operate according to our timeline. Now that we talked about why people purchase life insurance, let's talk about why so many people delay purchasing it. If I had to identify one sentence I've heard more than almost anything else in my career, it would be this. We're going to take care of it next year. Sometimes because people are busy. Sometimes because money feels tight. Sometimes because they're convinced nothing bad could happen. Unfortunately, life doesn't consult our calendars. Life doesn't wait until we're financially ready. Life simply happens. Let's meet Michael and Sarah, a young couple. They're both in their early 30s, recently married, both have good careers. They're saving for their first home, dreaming about starting a family. Like so many couples, they believe they had decades ahead of them. Insurance? That could wait. After all, they're healthy, they exercise, no medical issues, no family history. Why spend the money now? Let's pause for a moment. Have you ever noticed how often we confuse possibility with probability? Just because something seems unlikely, we begin to believe it's impossible. Now, this mindset affects nearly every financial decision we make. 6 months later, one afternoon, Michael leaves work. He's driving home. He's only 15 minutes from the house. A distracted driver crosses the center line, and within seconds, everything changes. Sarah receives their phone call that every spouse fears. Michael didn't survive. Let's pause here a moment. Now, I'd like you to imagine something. Forget the insurance just for a moment. Think about Sarah. She's grieving. She's planning a funeral. She's trying to explain to family members what happened. She's answering dozens of phone calls. She's barely sleeping. Emotionally, she's exhausted. Now imagine adding one more question. How am I going to pay next month's mortgage? This is where insurance enters the story. Not before the tragedy, but after it. And that's exactly when it matters most. If there was no coverage without life insurance, Sarah suddenly faced decisions she never expected. Should she sell the home? Can she keep making payments? Will she need a second job? Should she move back with her family? Can she afford counseling? Can she afford childcare if children were involved? Every one of those questions become a financial decision layered on top of an emotional heartbreak. Now, if coverage exists, Let's imagine a different ending. Michael purchased an affordable term life insurance policy 2 years earlier. Nothing extravagant, but just enough for the death benefit to pay off his major debts, such as the mortgage, emergency savings, and Sarah doesn't have to rush back to work. She now has time to heal, time to think, time to make decisions without panic. And sometimes time is the greatest financial gift that insurance can provide to anyone. Let's stop right here because there's an important lesson hidden inside the story. Life insurance doesn't prevent tragedy. Life insurance prevents tragedy from becoming a financial catastrophe. Now, that's an enormous difference. Let's explore why younger people often postpone buying life insurance. They think, I'm healthy. I don't need it. Ironically, good health is one of the biggest reasons to purchase it now, because insurance companies reward good health. Premiums are lower, more products are available, approval is easier. Waiting until health changes usually means paying more or sometimes becoming uninsurable altogether. Think about this. Imagine trying to buy homeowners insurance while your house is already on fire. As you know, that doesn't work, right? Well, insurance must be in place before the emergency. The same principle applies to life insurance. I would like everyone listening to me to ask themselves one simple question. If you didn't wake up tomorrow, would the people you love have enough financial breathing room to recover? Not forever, just enough time to rebuild. If you're not sure, that's okay. Uncertainty simply means it's time to have a conversation. Now, if a story showed us what happens when people assume they have plenty of time, but being uninsured can create challenges that many people never anticipate as well. So as I come to the end of today's conversation, I hope you're noticing something. None of my stories were really about life insurance policies. They were about the people. They were about the husband and wives, the parents and children, business owners and retirees. Insurance simply becomes a tool that allows loved ones to continue providing even when you can no longer be there in person to provide for them. If today's episode prompted you to think about someone you love, don't let that feeling fade once my podcast ends. Use this as motivation to go to the next step. Review your current coverage. Ask questions. Update beneficiaries. Make a plan that reflects your family's need today, not 5 years from now. My mission has always been to replace confusion with clarity and uncertainty with confidence. I believe that informed decisions create stronger families, healthier financial futures, and lasting legacies. Remember, I provide coverage to my clients nationwide. To contact me, call or text the studio line at 631-594-8118. Once again, 631-594-8118. Thank you for spending time with me today on Coverage and Clarity with Jacques. If this episode encouraged you or educated you in any way, please share it with someone who matters to you. You never know when one conversation could change the course of a family's future. Until next time, remember, the greatest gift you could leave someone isn't the one financial protection. It's the peace of mind that comes from knowing you plan with care, wisdom, and love. Now, I want you all to stay focused, stay prepared, stay intentional. Until next time.